Good afternoon, good morning, evening, whenever you're watching this video. I'm Ryan, setsbasedtriathlon.com, and in this video, we're going to talk about the kind of recovery quick hit list that I recommend for my athletes and for athletes out there. I've got the question before, what do you recommend for recovery? So we're going to jump into that real quick, talk really quick. Like I said with all my videos, if you have any questions or comments or anything like that, put them in the comments, and I'll get back to you later. So we're going to dive right into it. Recovery hit list for triathletes and endurance athletes in general. Number one, recovery is more of an active approach than passive. So don't just, you have to actually kind of plan on it to make it happen. It's not something where you can just sit around. Sitting in a chair at work or something like that isn't necessarily recovery, because if you're slouched over, working the mouse, you're doing other things, there's some ergonomic activities going on in there that may not be conducive for recovery type situations. So you got to kind of think about it and actually plan a little bit of recovery. It's not just sitting in a chair all day. It's not just sitting on the couch watching TV, which sort of recovery, but not really recovery. So you got to think about it. You got to actually, number two, plan on recovery just as you would with training, because there's specifically things you need to do, especially out there doing threshold rides. You have to ride your back outdoors. If you're doing strength and conditioning, hopefully you are doing strength work in your training. I always advocate for that. So there are several things going on that you want to actually plan for recovery with. So that is something you need to keep in mind. It's not just some passive thing. It's like, well, I'm going to be sitting around all day at work. Well, if you got stress at work, you got stress at home, you're running around, you're doing stuff, you're not really getting recovery. You're just not moving. So there's a difference. So number three, sleep is key. If you're not getting sleep, then pretty much game over. You're not really going to get the proper kind of recovery, especially if you're trading off sleep to do workouts and you're not getting enough sleep. You're waking up and you're tired every day, and it just compounds over time. You're going to end up chronically fatigued, burnout, sick, or injured. So sleep is non-negotiable. So you got to keep that in mind when you're planning out things. If one time you do workout is when everybody else goes to bed, then you might need to do a little reassessing, because you're going to end up hurting yourself in that regard. So keep that in mind. You can't skimp on sleep. Number four kind of goes into that, be real. So if I want to do a full Ironman and the training plus life plus family plus everything else just doesn't add up, there's only 24 hours in the day, and usually I recommend 7 to 8 hours of sleep, especially if you're training for an Ironman or 7.3 race. That's a lot of stress just to add on to your body in general. You have enough life stress going on as it is. So be real. Go back and assess, is it going to be a realistic option at this point in time to add in all this training and plan out some recovery and mixed in there. So if you can't add in 5 to 10 minutes of planned actual recovery that I'll talk about here in a minute, then you kind of need to reassess, do I need to kind of dial it back a little bit so I can use that time that would be training to do a little bit more recovery, so I don't end up getting injured or ill or sick or something like that. So keep that in mind. Number five, you don't need all the fancy massage guns. They are nice, and you can find some pretty decently priced ones, but they can get super expensive. They're nice to have, but at the end of the day, it's not a necessity necessarily. But it does help work out those knots and stuff. I mean, the good old fingers working out knots on your calves and hamstrings and thighs and other things will work just fine. But it's nice to have, so you could, if you have the means, it's convenient and it's efficient as far as time goes, because it's home with you or wherever you're at. You can just pull it out and use it. You don't have to drive anywhere necessarily. You don't have to set up a time. You just use the equipment and you put it back, charge it, and use it later. So it's convenient. And like I said, if you got the means to acquire one, it might not be a bad thing to have. So just keep that in mind. Number six, ART, which is active release therapy and deep tissue massage, are game changers. So I subscribe to this. I've been with my massage therapist for years, and it helped to get in the very beginning. And I locked in a rate that I've had for like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years or something like that. So it makes it affordable to me because it's a monthly plan. So it just takes out the monthly charge, and I schedule whenever I can get to it during the month. And when I'm in peak training, I try to get to 1 to 2 times a month. And when I'm talking about massage, I'm not talking about the little, just rub your shoulders and you feel good and you move on. She's using her elbows. She's using knees sometimes. She's grinding in my shoulders. She's grinding in my thighs, into my hamstrings, into my calves. And it is not what I would call a fun massage. It's not your regular couples massage or something like that at a retreat or something. She's grinding in there and getting out those knots, because that's what you want. You want those knots to release in your shoulders from swimming, in your legs and your calves from running, and your hamstrings from running. because over time, if you don't get those knots out with that massage therapy, if that's what you're going for, then they're just going to stay there over time, and they're going to cause problems in your muscles and recovery and tendons and stretching and not stretching, and could cause tears and all kinds of other fun stuff down the road because you're introducing more strain than a normal average everyday person just walking around doing stuff. So keep that in mind. If you got the means for massage therapy, highly recommend it, but make sure you're getting the right massage therapy. It's not just we're going to press here a little bit and you feel good. It's you're grinding in there with knuckles, with elbows, and it's not comfortable. I will say that, but it does the job. Number 7, foam rollers are helpful as well as massage guns. So if you got foam rollers, make sure you're using them. I know for me, let's be honest, I have foam rollers running around the house, but my kids play with them more than I actually use them because it takes time. You have to be dedicated. You have to get on the floor and you have to roll around on them. You have to actually use it and be intentional about it. So it's not just something, it's like massage gun, but at least massage gun you can kind of sit on a couch or chair or something like that. But the roller, you have to get on the ground, you have to run around, you have to roll on it and use your body weight. So it's not as convenient necessarily and conducive to using, but it is handy and it is helpful. So if you can be disciplined in getting it in, just like your training, it can be helpful and less expensive probably than other tools. Number 8, the tools are also good for warming up. So you'll see some people actually use massage guns and rollers and other things to actually help with the warm up. They do a quick little jog, get warmed up a little bit, and then use the tools to get warmed up the rest of the way, get the blood flowing to the muscles that they're going to use for the workout. So it can not only be a helpful tool for recovery for after, but it can help keep you warmed up. So recovery is a little bit more conducive afterwards as well because you're ready for the workout. You're not putting more strain on your muscles. So keep that in mind as well. If you got the tools and you got the time, might as well even warm up too. Number 9, don't go cold immediately after the workout. So as soon as the workout's done, hose off, shower up, change your clothes, go sit in a chair and go to work. Try to build in that time, 5 to 10 minutes of some stretching, just because, especially as I'm mature and stuff, my back is just not what it used to be. My flexibility is not what it used to be. And that's the first thing that usually tends to get cut, especially with the cool down. It's like you do your workout and you go change, you got your time crunch, you got to do these things. That may be where you got to go back and dial back a little bit and say, hey, maybe a 5-minute cool down and 5 minutes stretching or something like that. So you got to get that stretching in because over time, if you don't do that stretch after your workouts, your muscles, your tendons, everything will just kind of, atrophy a little bit over time, and you just will not be flexible and will cause problems in your form, in your biking fit, all kinds of other stuff. So try to get that stretching in, static stretching in after your workouts. Number 10, nutrition and hydration are non-negotiables as well. People kind of tend to gloss this over, but after you do your workout, you need to have something for your muscles to come back and use for rebuilding after your workouts, especially if you're doing intense stuff. And the same goes for hydration. If you're not hydrating, you're not giving nutrients to your muscles and stuff to rebuild all the damage and micro tears and everything that you've done to it during your workouts, that's going to hurt you over time as well. And that's definitely going to lead to injury if you're undernourishing yourself and underhydrating. You're getting dehydrated all the time. So make sure you're paying attention to that hydration, not only before and during, which a lot of people do well, but after as well. Make sure you're getting that water throughout the day. Make sure you're eating something after the workouts, especially the hard, intense workouts. And last but not least, number 11, compression boots. I have a pair. We got a sponsor. You see a picture here in the picture of the tips. You use Rapid Reboot. It's great. They're pretty affordable compared to your Normatex or something like that. So that's just who I use. But if you have the means to go out there and get them, there's some high quality recovery boots out there. There's some that are just for arms, hips, all kinds of other different attachments. I like them because, as you can see the picture, I was just laying in bed. You throw them on, you watch a little bit of TV to wind down at the end of the day, or you're sitting around on the couch or something like that. It's nice to just throw them on. It's a little bit not as convenient because there's cords. You got to put them on. You got to zip them up. You got to get situated and all this kind of fun stuff. But if you incorporate them in your recovery, I think they do help. They help flush out the crud, the lactic acid from all your muscles. It helps the blood flow get down to the legs and stuff, especially if you're just sitting there in bed. You're not really doing anything else. So you might as well use the time to your benefit to get that recovery planned in as well. So this is my hit list. There's many more things out there, I'm sure, but I didn't want to drone on forever and ever about that. But again, if you have any questions, put them in the comments at Facebook, YouTube. I'll get notifications. I'll check them out later, see if I got any answers for you, or if I should have put something else in here that I forgot. Maybe let me know. Maybe I can make a second set of recovery hit list. Also, if this helped you out, you're seeing on Facebook, give it a thumb, give it a like. Give it a thumbs up in YouTube. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down, but hopefully you liked it. But if you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. At least put a comment. What could have done better for you. Hit subscribe on YouTube, bell notifications for future videos on tips and race courses and other things that I do. With that, I'm going to wrap this up really quick. And that's the end of the video, and we'll see you in the next video. Hopefully this helped you out. We'll talk to you next time.